What's up everybody, I'm back with another guide, and today the character is Sephiroth. We're going to cover everything from his moves to his combos, basically how the character works, how he functions, and how you can hopefully get better if you follow some of these tips and tricks. This video was recommended by a fellow viewer named Goon97. I'll put his name right here so you guys can see that. So if you happen to see him in the comments, or if you notice him at all within any of my other videos, you can tell him you appreciate the video if it happened to help you at all. Thanks again for the suggestion. Let's get into the video. For the combos, just in case you guys want to go ahead and skip to that instead of watching the other moves. First things first, let's cover all the basics so we have a good understanding of what the moves actually do so we can better understand the character. We have Sephiroth's jab, which is just a simple 3-hit with an end. You can shove him off. It's just a good option, quick, easy to use. It's a good way to get your opponent off you. Sometimes it can kind of send them into a tumble and you can follow up behind that. But other than that, it's just an easy get off me option. Next we got our down tilt. It's kind of good for crossing up shield. It can put your opponent above you, which is awesome because Sephiroth has an easy time juggling a lot of people. You can pretty much keep them in the air for a good amount of time. You have your up tilt, which is also a good way to get damage. It also is a decent combo tool for some other stuff like your throws. You have your forward tilt, which is probably going to be one of your main killing tools. It does have a sweet spot kind of almost on the end to middle of the blade. If you barely hit it, it'll do a little bit less, but if you can kind of line it up just right where you're almost hitting the opponent directly in the middle of the sword, you'll see it do about 14. You don't want to do it too close because it won't do too much either. See, pretty much how a sword should be. And then we have our throws. We have our down throw, which is a decent combo tool, puts them directly in front of you. You can usually follow up with some things. You have your up throw, which again puts them right above you to where you can follow up with things like your up tilt. You have your forward throw, which puts your opponent in a tumble, and you can basically, if you can read what they're going to do, follow up with whatever you're going to do. It's one of the best tools, one of the great best setups for him, as long as your opponent isn't teching everything. And then you have your back throw, which can lead into a few other combos as well. All in all, Sephiroth's throws aren't super crazy, not the best for killing. You're not going to have a kill throw around like 100, like let's say Ness would or Mario, but at least you have throws that can lead into other things, which is what you want to see with a good character. Next, we're going to cover Sephiroth's aerials. Sephiroth has some of the best aerials in the game. There's some in-lag behind some of them, but just due to the sheer range he has and the ability to just throw stuff out and pretty much get away with it for free, makes them incredibly useful. So first thing we're going to cover is our Nair. This is probably Sephiroth's best combo tool. It can lead into a whole bunch of things. When he actually snaps his fingers and jumps, you can see pretty much it sparks all the way around him. The entire perimeter of him is completely covered and is a hitbox at that point, leading into tons of things. It's not going to end up taking any stocks because it's not one of those kind of moves that's going to kill around like 100% or anything like that, but it is a great tool for pretty much getting more and more damage as you go. Then we're going to have Sephiroth's down air. Phenomenal at ledge. It spikes. You basically have no commitment to going off stage against your opponent unless you're just trying to style on him. It goes through the stage and you can easily take a stock very, very early. And it is a good tool for mixing up mixing landings if you happen to have Sephiroth's wing or something else. Maybe your opponent isn't really just thinking about it. I know personally if I'm ever going against Sephiroth, it's basically all I'm ever thinking about because I seem to have people do it to me non-stop. But it's a good tool for either landing safely. You can even do it on platforms where if your opponent is under a platform, you can land on the platform and the blade will still go through, which is fantastic. Then we're going to have Sephiroth's up air. I'm sure you can see that it covers quite a large range. It appears to be very, very quick. But if you notice when Sephiroth lands, he has a landing animation like that where he kind of looks at the camera and puts his hand on the ground. If he didn't have that, I think this would probably be one of the best moves in the game. Unfortunately, due to the landing lag on it, it doesn't allow you to throw it out super often and lead to crazy combos with it, but still a great move. Sometimes you can fast fall it and avoid it, but even then it's just you're going to have some landing lag. Unfortunate, because it is a pretty good move. You can use it to take stocks at later percents, and you can also use it to cover the ground to where even though you might be throwing out an up air, because of the wide range of the sword, you can still hit people behind you, in front of you, and above you like you just saw there. And the last two, we have his fair, which is his forward air. sure you can see the range is pretty crazy. It does have kind of like a tipper effect on it, to where if you can space it just right, you'll manage to get a little more damage and take a stock a little early, whereas if you're too close, it's not going to do that much, not going to have that much knockback. You can still do combos if you manage to space it incorrectly, because due to the weak hit of Fair, it can lead into other things, but more often than not, what you want to do with this character is kind of maximize your spacing and get as much damage as you can with his range. And the last move of his aerials is, of course, his back air. Probably one of his best moves. Crazy amount of damage, very fast. Takes stocks incredibly early if you have wing. Yeah, one of the moves you're definitely going to want to be using more often than not. Almost forgot to mention, there is one more thing you can do with one of Sephiroth's aerials, which can be kind of sneaky. You can kind of do like a little bit of ledge camping with it, or you can basically manipulate your opponent into rushing you when they're not prepared for what you're going to do. And that is, Sephiroth's forward aerial can actually hook onto stage like you see here, and you can follow up with whatever you want. Maybe you want to, throw out another forward aerial just to keep them away from you or whatever back here on stage. Whatever you really want. Just another good tool to stall and pretty much mix up your get up off the ledge. Sephiroth's smash attacks, they're incredibly powerful, especially when you have wing, which basically is this comeback mechanic. But along with just having wing, these are just decent moves in general. We have his forward smash, which is a little bit slow, but the range is really awesome. You can kill it very, very early percents, making it really easy for Sephiroth to take stocks. I'm pretty sure if I get him to just like around this percent uncharged, yeah, we're almost taking a stock right there. Fully charged or even a little bit charged, definitely gonna take a stock. Or not, hang on, let's try that one more time. Remember to space it. Yeah, very, very simple for Sephiroth to take stocks with that one. We have his up smash, which is similar in a way to his up air, except this one is just grounded, and you can kind of wait for the moment. There's still going to be a little bit of in lag behind all these because they are smash attacks, but I'm sure as you saw, despite me being like at least 2 to 3 character links away from Cloud, this move has no problem reaching around and hitting him regardless, whether it's in front or behind. And then we have our down smash, which I believe is probably Seph's one of his best tools for doing shield pressure. I'm sure a lot of people believe that as well. Basically, if your opponent holds shield too long, even if they happen to have almost full shield, if you're able to time this just right, not only does it do a ton of damage and is pretty easy to kill with, it also snaps shield very, very easily on most characters and could lead to really good setups, as well as easy early stocks for you, because Sephiroth has crazy moves that take stocks very early. The most important stuff, or at least some of the more flashier stuff, it's his special attacks. He's got a couple just like everybody else in the game. We have his down special, which is not a reflect, but it does manage to counter. So if your opponent were to strike you, it's basically going to end up hitting the little hexagons that Sephiroth forms, and he'll basically send back the attack. It won't reflect any type of beam, and it can be broken if the attack does have enough damage, but it's a good way to basically get someone off you if they're pressuring you too hard. And it does actually go forward a little bit. As you saw, it kind of pushes a tiny bit out so you can knock your opponent off. And you can also use it to edge guard if you want to. We have Sephiroth's up B, which he can angle any direction he chooses. I'm sure as you can see, I can literally take the triangle and point it any direction I want. Maybe I want to go straight up, but I make it look like I'm going forward. You can do whatever you want. The longer you hold it, the more you're going to end up getting Octo Slash, which is a multi-hit move that can do a ton of damage very quickly and can also take stocks. It's really good for catching rolls, or if you're able to read a get up. And you can even try to style on your opponent by using it off stage and trying to catch them in a scenario where you can drag them off at a very early percent. Pretty good move. We have his infamous side special, which pretty much puts those little orbs around you. They do a ton of damage, and you can stack them along with other orbs, so you can do one, you just keep adding to it. Max is 5. The longer they are, or I'm sorry, the more you have, the longer they will take to go off. But they do a ton of shield damage and a ton of damage overall. I believe if you do 3, you have to count till 5, and that's probably when they would go off. So I always do this. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's usually when they go off. I don't think there's really any bit of a difference for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, basically the same. However, if you do manage to land all 5 of them, it's usually around 7 seconds. So let's test that out real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh wow, okay. A little bit later. I've always been used to 7, but so basically anywhere from 7 to 9, I believe. It's important to know that though, because you can then, if you are able to understand when they're going to go off and your opponent just doesn't have a clue, you're able to time things accordingly. That can lead to shield breaks, early stocks, other combos. So it's very good to understand the timing of when they're going to go off. Also, it's a great move for pressuring your opponent into making dumb decisions like trying to go off stage, trying to grab ledge, which is not bad to do those kind of things, except if they're not thinking straight, sometimes they can do them without kind of realizing the consequences of playing against you as Sephiroth. Maybe you're able to edge guard them, maybe able to spike them at a very early percent because they went to grab ledge for a second time, stuff like that. It always leads to a ton of shield pressure where they start shielding a lot more than they normally would, and you can then follow up with a down smash or something else. So honestly, very, very good move right there. And it covers quite a large amount of map, as you can see here. It's very fast. The only giveaway is you kind of see him start it up. That's the only bad part about it, but honestly, probably one of the better projectiles in the game. And last but not least, we have his neutral B. If you just lightly tap it, he'll send the fireball. It can take stocks, but it's usually a little later. It does a little bit of damage, but it's kind of slow. So usually it's just a good tool to pretty much force a jump from your opponent, force a shield, something like that. Or you can always use it to kind of mess with your opponent off stage into getting hit. You have his charged, which is when you hold B a little bit, see it turn blue, throw it. A lot more damage, can take stocks pretty early. It's a little bit faster, but again, your opponent's going to see it coming. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, here we go, he's getting ready for it. It's not something that you can charge and use for later. As soon as it gets there, you can throw it. The good news is, if you want to use it to bait your opponent into air dodging or into doing something else, you can always do charge and then jump and then set up into other things. Or charge and then go towards, grab, whatever you want to do. So you're not just stuck doing it until you have to throw it, like some other characters. That's always useful. And then, of course, the most infamous move in his entire arsenal. If you hold B all the way down, it doesn't have much range, it doesn't travel very fast, and it definitely takes a long time to do. However, at early percents, this move is basically probably the most destructive move in the game. Just because it takes stocks so crazy early, and it can actually combo into things like your forward smash. So here's what this is going to look like. Charge it all the way, spacing is correct, forward smash in there. Oop, I don't think I hit the forward smash. Let me try that one more time. One more time. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Mid-stage, 30%. I don't even think it struggled to kill, so yeah. Honestly, great. It's not going to be one of the things you're just going to be throwing out willy-nilly, but if you break your opponent's shield, or whatever, maybe they're shielding too much, or even if they're trying to come back to stage and you're able to kind of just put it right on the edge of the stage where it covers all options like get up, or it covers a jump, or it covers just grabbing stage. Very, very good tool to use. Okay, well that's basically all of Sephiroth's moves. Let's get into the combo portion of the video. Okay, we're here at the combo portion of the video. We're going to cover some pretty basic combos first, all with your opponent at 0, and then make our way into other combos in the game. So, very first simple one we're going to do is going to be a simple nair to up throw to up tilt. If you don't feel comfortable doing nair into a grab, you can always just do up throw into up tilt like this. It is true on most characters in the game. Pretty easy damage right away. But if you think you're confident enough, you can always do your nair into up throw before you do that. And it's going to look like this. It's not going to read as true because after grabbing this game it never does, but as you can see there, 32%, and this does work with wing. Another variation of that exact same combo would be, instead of using up tilt, you use nair, and then you can follow up with whatever you want like a fair. It won't be true, but at least you have a follow-up tool afterwards. And as you saw there, the fair did not connect for a true combo, but usually when you go into your nair, it's going to knock them up a little bit above you, like you can see here. And your opponent is either going to be kind of going away from you or trying to avoid you, and you can usually follow up with another fair since you got pretty good distance. So, it's not completely true, but you can usually land it more often than not. Next bread and butter for Sephiroth is probably one of his go-tos. This works anywhere from 0 to 60%. For the sake of this, we're going to go ahead and put our computer at, let's just go with, oh, that's me. Let's just go with, say, 30, 25 or so. Just so you can get an idea of what we're looking at here. We'll just do 28 or 29, whatever. So you can do back throw or back air. Pretty solid conversion. Easy way to take a stock early, or you can even do back throw to fair. Too bad, I'm just so used to not doing that though. There you go. Back throw to fair. I don't know why you'd ever choose fair unless you're just not confident in doing back throw, but with the buffer system in this game, back throw is just so much more, like, I guess easier to me. But near ledge with this, if your opponent does a get up option and you're already on ledge, or if they rush you and don't space properly, run into your shield, grab out his shield like that, back throw, you can dang near take a stock at that early percent. With wing, you might actually end up taking the stock around 30 to 40% if your opponent has really bad DI, or if your opponent just is a lighter character. Honestly, very useful tool for Sephiroth. Another easy bread and butter combo, which just requires 2 hits. You can have your opponent anywhere from 0 to 40% depending on the weight of the character. We're going to keep our Cloud at 29% because that seems to be just a pretty simple percent to work with, and I don't want to change it. But you can do Nair into your forward tilt, and it's going to look something like this. You can do this with wing as well. Pretty much just an easy follow-up. If you know you're going to land the Nair, why not get a little bit more? You can always follow up with other things out of Nair, but this is just one of the options. Or you can do at much earlier percents, which I'm not a huge fan of this, but I guess it is technically true, so why not show it? At much earlier percents, 0 to 20% on most characters. On heavier characters like Bowser, you might be able to do a little bit later percent, but for the sake of this, we're going to keep our Cloud at 15. You can also do Nair into F Smash. That's going to look like this. A lot more damage, but it's a little inconsistent, and I don't like that it's so slow with the forward smash. I'd much rather get the guaranteed damage than the possible damage, because it's a very, very narrow window to hit that. And like I said already, the Nair to F tilt is just a whole lot more useful to me. See, it's not going to be nearly the same amount of damage. It's just, I feel like it's a lot more easier to hit because you are able to angle your F tilt. Ooh, that's not it. So you can always do your F tilt straight down, or you can do it up, whatever you want to do to get your hit. I really like that. I'm sure y'all begun to notice by now that Nair is basically one of your best combo starting tools, or it's one of your best tools in general. That's no different with this combo. Again, we're going to keep our opponent at our lower percents. This works anywhere from usually 0 to 30% on most characters. You may have to incorporate a jump the higher the percent, but let's say our opponent is at 0%, we can do Nair to our side B to set up for other future combos or setups or whatever you're going to do. It's going to look something like this. Not a ton of damage. What we're more fixated on is getting that orb to go around him to cause our opponent to panic, try to air dodge, try to shield, things like that, so that we can set up for other things and potentially get more damage just off of that one orb alone. While that orb is going to be only 8 damage, and we know this, sometimes people don't think that way, and they're so focused on just not getting hit that they'll make really bad decisions that lead them taking more damage further on. That's what we're focused on. I said you can do that at earlier percent, or a little bit later percents too. So let's get our Cloud to around 20. So you won't be able to hit it without jumping, as you can see here. Oh, my bad. Not true. You will still be able to hit it, but it's not going to be true. If you want to guarantee it's true, after you hit your Nair, do a little bit of a short hop into your side B. It's going to look something like this. There you go. Same exact scenario, a little bit later percent. Just an easy way to pretty much kind of get in your opponent's head, play some mental mind games, that kind of stuff. Back to simple bread and butters, we're going to incorporate Sephiroth's down throw into this one. This works anywhere from 0 to 80%, and if you're able to space it correctly, you can take stocks at around 80% close to ledge. So it's going to look like this. Not a crazy amount of damage, not super flashy, but sometimes it's more important to have a combo that's easy to hit, that can take stocks, rather than having the you know, the very, very complicated combo that you might get one every 20 games or so. You want something that's consistent when you play this game. So let's get our opponent to around 80 to 70%, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So we're at 80, and here's what it looks like near ledge. There we go. As you saw there, the window is a little strict. The timing is pretty exact, but we almost took a stock at 80%, and we just have to make sure that we do our spacing. Thankfully, the game kind of spaces it for us because down throw is almost impossible to hit with a forward throw around 80%, but it is possible with most characters. You are more comfortable with doing a landing nair. You can always do a nair instead of a down throw, and it gives you basically the exact same results. But we're going to need wing to do this because nair is going to send it at a little bit of kind of a stranger angle. So let me show you what it's going to look like if we have wing on and we have our opponent around 80. So again, this works anywhere from 0 to 80. However, when you have wing, it starts to work even later percents. Around 100%, I believe, is as far as I'm willing to go for that, because at that point you're better off just fishing for like a forward tilt or something. So let's put our opponent to around like 95. We're going to do a falling nair into our forward air. Here's what that's going to look like. There we go. See, and at that point, you're doing 30%, killing at 90. Very easy, pretty safe to do. Honestly, just again, another one of the bread and butters. You can, of course, do this at lower percent. I'm just showing you that this is an option for taking stocks. Remember how I mentioned earlier in the video that your forward throw really doesn't lead in any combos? It's kind of like a tech chase thing. We're going to incorporate our forward throw into a combo. It's not true, but it's very difficult to avoid if you're not ready for it. So, Sephiroth's forward throw leads into a tech chase scenario. Throw them, they don't have long to tech. If the opponent is unaware, they're just not ready, usually you can catch them slipping and they'll be forced to tech. When you're laying on the ground, if you miss the tech, there's only a few options you have. You can do a get up attack, a normal get up, a roll forward, or a roll back. So it covers pretty much all of the ground. You don't have the ability to jump, meaning you basically have to either time the get up attack perfectly, or if you went for any one of the rolling options, you're kind of screwed. So here's what I mean. We're going to go for our forward throw, and you can follow up with whatever you want. If you want to do forward throw into dash attack, or forward throw into F tilt, or whatever. If you want to do anything you want, that's cool. Here's what I normally do because it maximizes the reward. So I like to do forward throw to up B towards the opponent, or I like to do forward throw to side B towards the opponent. So here's what that's going to look like. So you throw them. Oh, maybe I should throw them on the stage. So you throw them, they miss the tech, and then you follow up. Let's try to do this right. Throw them, they miss the tech, follow up with, wow, or that could happen. Forward throw, miss the tech, up B. If you manage to land all the hits, usually it can take a stock around 70, 80%. Or you could always do forward throw into side B and catch them on the roll anyway. But you have to make sure that you kind of corner them just right. If you give them too much space, they can always roll out of the way from the side B. If you give them just enough, though, here, let's put our opponent closer to around 20 or 30, just so I can show you. So, they don't have much space to work with, and then you can then follow with a side B on their get up or on their roll. And that can lead into other things too, other combos, other pressures. It's just another useful tool so that you can incorporate, because most of the time, I always find that most people are always thinking of back throw into back air, because that's just a bread and butter too. But this is just another good way to force your opponent to kind of panic into using their shield or air dodging or whatever. The next combo we're going to cover is going to be kind of like a later percent combo. It's kind of flashy, but it's just an easy way to take stocks also, because your opponent sometimes doesn't even think about the fact that maybe you're going to use your side B to actually take the stock rather than to cause the initial damage or the pressure. So we're going to land a side B, wait our 5 seconds, and then an F tilt. And what's going to take the stock is our side B, but our F tilt is going to put them in a position to take the stock. So you can always charge if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and charge for 3. Wait my 5 seconds. 5. F tilt, take the stock. A lot of damage. You don't have to do it at 100%. You could always technically have your opponent at, let's say, I don't know, 70. and do this, and it always will be true because these orbs are great combo fodder, but do that, follow up if you just want to get the damage, pretty much whatever you want to do, and it should work because it's just so easy to actually land these kind of things. Okay, and for our last combo without wing, because I do have some combos dedicated to using wing. This again, I'm sure you've seen it online a few times. A couple of people use it to kind of be flashy. It's that's all it is. This is flashy. There's no need to really ever do this in a game unless you're trying to show off. But sometimes it's fun just to kind of, you know, get your friend with. You can always do your neutral B, use your double jump into F tilt. Maybe you broke your opponent's shield and you kind of want to just style on them, and you can do your neutral B into F tilt, and it should combo because the angles are pretty good for Seph. So again, space better. There we go. It can take stocks at later percents, which, I mean, not later percents, it can take stocks, you just have to have your opponent kind of in the right area. There we go. But again, not super necessary. It's just for show. I'm sure if you do it to somebody online, maybe put it in a montage or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, there's something you can do also. Okay, so now we're going to focus on combos using wings. There's not a lot of them because it's so vast. There's a ton of things you can do, but we're going to cover just a couple of them. Really, it's whatever your heart desires because wing pretty much opens the door for so many different things. Especially since you have 3 jumps, especially because your speed's faster, damage is better, knockback is different. There's a whole lot of different factors that go into it, but I'll give you guys a few before the video is done today. So we're going to have our opponent back at 0%. You've got wing. What we're going to do is we're going to do nair into a falling up air into another nair. And it's going to net around 30 to 40% depending on what you're able to hit. So here's what that's going to look like. Alright, 37%. Now I'm sure you saw there that that last nair kind of sent your opponent at an awkward angle. Sometimes if your opponent just puts their controller down or just isn't thinking straight or doesn't assume you can keep continuing, you can then follow up that final nair with a back air, but it's not true. However, as you saw there, that combo was true. So 37% with wing, not too bad. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our down throw and then follow up with, or I believe you can even try to do it if you're more comfortable with that, but you don't have. I always like doing the nairs just because it seems a little more flashier. So here's what we got. There we go. Again, 30%, not too shabby. Put your opponent in a bad scenario and you didn't waste all your jumps doing it. You can also go for, instead of your down throw, you can go in for a falling nair into 2 more nairs. It's going to look something like this. There you go. And I'm sure you saw there your opponent is in a position where they're just directly in front of you. Again, this won't be true, but sometimes you can pressure them with doing it. You can always throw out a fair, and it may or may not hit. Again, not true, but the initial nairs are completely true. And good damage. This next one is probably one of my favorite bread and butters for him. I believe you can actually do this without wing, but wing just makes it look that much cooler because it's much more fluid to me. Let's just go ahead and put our opponent around 65 or so. I always say this works anywhere from 80 or 0 to 80% depending on the weight of the character. Let's keep Clyde at around 65 though. So we can do a falling nair with your back towards your opponent, or if you're comfortable, you can always do a nair, B reverse, or not B reverse, reverse into the back air. But essentially, it is a falling nair into back air, and this takes stocks very, very early. So here's what that's going to look like. Yeah, very quick, very simple. It's not too hard to do, but it is a little bit of a timing thing. But as you saw there, this did around 30% with wing. Cloud was at 60, almost around mid-stage, and died from that. So definitely try to master that one because you'll get tons of results from it. That's a good one. This next combo doesn't really necessarily need wing, but I'm just going to keep it on anyway. This next combo could technically be 0 to death on anybody in the cast, but the timing is very, very strict. However, if you're able to land it, it is definitely a crowd pleaser. So what we're going to do is we're going to land our side B. Let's say we have an opponent near the end of the stage or they're off stage already. You already know that side B sends away from Sephiroth in the direction that he's, whether he's facing that direction or not. So Cloud's on our right, Sephiroth's on our left, Cloud will go right if we land a side B. We already know that. What we're going to follow up is Knowing that he's going to be towards our right, we will then use our up B to catch him after the last orb hits, and pretty much drag him off stage at an early percent. So here's what that's going to look like. I'm going to throw in a fair just to show that you can catch them off stage with this move, and pretty much do whatever you want after that. So here's what we got. That's basically it. Again, be very careful when doing this because you will absolutely take your own stock. However, if you're looking just to style on somebody, this is definitely a cool option to do. I really appreciate you guys for making it this far in the video. I know it's quite a long one whenever I do these kind of guides and combos. If you have made it this far, leave the comment winged in the comments. That way I know. I like to see if extra people are able to kind of sit through these long videos. That's winged, W-I-N-G-E-D, winged. So the last combo we're going to talk about, it's not really a combo, it's just to give you an idea and to kind of like open your eyes to things. Side B, of course, we know causes our opponent to go a different direction, but takes a little bit of time. However, that gives you a ton of different options for you to do. If you know your opponent is just shooting non-stop, of course, snap the shield with the down smash, snap with the forward smash, whatever you want to do. However, though, if your opponent does happen to get hit by it, you can follow up with pretty much any of Sephiroth's moves. So I was going to show you a few of those here. You can pretty much plug and play as you want. It's up to your imagination. I'll leave you with a few of them just so you can see, but you're more than willing to do whatever you want. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for more, and here's a couple of those combos.
目障りだ。